guy, you're not a strategy designer. Like, you're switching to design. One of my students became group head in one of the biggest ad agencies in Africa. Someone invented the camera, someone invented lights, someone invented Facebook, YouTube. Cover your weaknesses, improve in your area of weakness, but double down on your area of strength. Like I thought I knew. I don't ever believe I'm the best in every interview I apply for, but I've always had a unique. When I made that decision, I looked very stupid. Maybe doing an experiment.
An experiment. An experiment.
Maybe he'll figure himself out and come back. Design has so much impact on whether people buy and whether people keep buying a product, and even how people see a product. When you design for accessibility, you make the experience better for everybody. Don't go and post somebody's work as your own. We have difficult conversations because I've had to let people go, deal with that in a very mature, transparent way. Like, you're not dealing with a baby, you're dealing with someone. Maybe it has to do with their career. What does greatness look like in my domain? And then
welcome to Dumebi.
thank you.
Awesome, how are you doing?
I'm very well. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Beautiful. It's been almost a decade of doing stuff in the creative space, from art direction to brand design, product design, leading teams. What has been the journey like?
It's actually, try to calculate, it's actually like 13 years. The journey has been interesting, really, because design, I'll say design found me, but like throughout my life has gone through different phases. I studied science in secondary school. I went to a special science school, and studied a medical course, radiography. So according to what I studied, I should be in a hospital. But I think design was something that I was always interested in, and I picked it up in school. And eventually, after graduating, just pivoted fully to design, and it's been rewarding.
Interesting. So I'd also love to take you back a bit before choosing radiography to study in school. Yeah. So what influenced that choice? Yeah, and then what were the earliest spark or influences that made you love design?
Yeah. So both my parents were teachers. Well, because they're both retired now. So when I was young, I started reading quite early. I think I was probably 4 or 5 when I started reading. So there was a lot of books in the house. But even before I could read, I was always looking at books, magazines. And I'll go to my mom's school and I'll just stay in the library. Like, we used to look forward going to the library because we're looking at books that we don't understand, encyclopedias.
Interesting.
And even before I could read, I've always been fascinated by the images. And I loved cartoons all my life. I still watch cartoons and animations. But I think in around 2000 or so, like year 2000, my mom gave my sister a scrapbook, and we kind of started. Then I didn't even know what a scrapbook was, what she gave us, and I said, "Oh, you can do this, you can do that." So we started cutting out, like, because my dad had a lot of old Newsweek magazines and stuff. So I would cut out
Different
things,
parts.
like ads, sometimes the comics in the newspaper, and I just try to collate and create a collage. Like, as I'm saying, I'm visualizing it. I wish I can find that scrapbook now. Like, we also got in trouble for it, because I remember when we borrowed a particular, like, magazine from a family friend, and my sister cut out images for our scrapbook. So we had to explain to them that, oh, sorry, you know. But I think that was the first spark of, because in some way it was like kind of curation, like I'm making aesthetic judgment. Do I like this? And trying to decide which goes with what on whichever page. We didn't really have a story with it. It just does it look fine beside each other. But I've also, like, always liked to draw. because I think technically the first time I made money from anything creative was like JS2. I helped a friend draw agriculture equipment for 10 naira.
Started making money since then.
Yeah, I think I needed to buy biscuit or something. But then, like I said, like even during my junior secondary school, I went to a private school. We didn't do art or music. During my senior secondary school, I went to a special science school, so just pure science. Like I never did the most thing related to maybe art or creativity was technical drawing. Right. So maybe because technical drawing was a major influence during my secondary school, I was like, oh, maybe I'll study architecture. So my first jam I actually put into study. My parents were like, you do medicine. I just ignored them when I went to register. I registered architecture. And when I told them, they're like angry, but we're like, whoa, you've already put it. But I had a great jam score, but I didn't scale through the post-CME. But I'll blame myself because I'll go to the library and I was reading Harry Potter novels. But when I, like my second jam, I now put in medicine, but second choice radiography, and then ended up getting radiography. But then in school, I had a laptop. And to be fair, like the first 2 years, I was just playing games with it. But I think someone introduced me to CorelDRAW. But the first design I actually did was with, I don't know if you know Microsoft Publisher.
Yeah.
Publisher. It was a Microsoft Publisher. I was a flyer with Microsoft Publisher. Then I started using CorelDRAW. I was learning CorelDRAW. I used CorelDRAW for years, like I think from 2012 to probably 2015. So it was like probably 2017. So it was 2018 that I learned Photoshop. But I'd used Photoshop off and on, but I didn't really like it. It felt too complex until
the layers
until when I finally went all in. So yeah, in school I was just and I had a friend who unfortunately is late now, who gave me tons of tutorials. Like I always talk about him because he was incredibly generous. This was in 2012, and he gave me maybe 80 gig worth of tutorials. And if you know what it takes to download
those kind
80
of tutorials,
gig, then I think the cheapest data plan, there was this 80 salat. It wasn't cheap, but I think at night it was somewhat free, and you can download a lot. So it was like Linda tutorials and stuff. So that was how I started learning about crafts and things, not just not just use CorelDRAW and put something together, but this typography, this is how you do it.
Arrange it.
Yeah, then about layout, then about kerning, spacing, colors.
That's like your third year or fourth year in school?
Yeah, that was third year.
Okay.
Yeah, so but then I was just graphic design mostly. So I was designing for my fellowship, and then we had a notice board that we were treating like a magazine. So if you come, we had columns, and it was just really cool. But then when I left school, and then that was the first time I started designing logos in brands, stationaries, and stuff. But I wasn't making a lot of money from it.
Yeah.
It was just maybe 5K here, 10K there. And I remember the one I would never forget, an episode where I didn't do the design, but I got the gig to print it. And I went to print a magazine for an organization in school, and oh my God, the printers messed the entire batch up. This color separation printing, they will print cyan, they will print magenta,
yellow, black.
Exactly, and oh my God, and if the plates shift a bit, the colors will bleed
on each other.
It will be like it's hazy.
Yeah.
So that was what happened. And I think after the episode, anything I'm printing, I'm always doing direct imaging because it's just sharp and crisp. But then after school, I just focused on radiography because now I need to make money. So that was when I moved to Lagos in 2016. I came to do my internship at Dumebi Orthopedic Hospital. So during that time, I wasn't really designing much. Just maybe someone be like, maybe design logo for me. So it was just mostly for free then, just for my friend. But when I was done with my internship, I was trying to figure something out, but I started working as a sonographer. I was doing ultrasound. And on the side, I would just design here and there. Then I wanted to be I think then my big vision was to be a startup founder. Right. So I'm like, okay, I can't afford with Lagos Business School. What's the next best thing? So I started looking out for opportunities, and I got into YALI, which is like Young African Leadership Initiative stuff. So it's like a 1 month long training, 2 weeks online, 2 weeks at AFCON in Badagry. Not AFCON, I've forgotten what they call it. But yeah, so it was really amazing experience. So they had business consultants training us, basically a mini MBA. So because of that, when I got an opportunity to go to Uto Academy to learn, I chose to learn brand strategy. Right. So I got in as a brand strategist. The first 1 month lectures, I was a brand strategist. Because I felt like I already knew how to design, so I need
something different.
And then I was listening to Chris Doe, and they were talking about strategy and the strategy that elevates, the value of your work, the business of design, all those things. So, but I casted myself because they gave us an assignment to, like, after teaching us everything, so they gave us an assignment to come up with a brand strategy, or it can be a launch strategy for any brand of your choice in Nigeria. So I chose Jeep Wrangler. So like, okay, these guys are launching their brand because I love the brand. So I worked on the strategy for like maybe a couple of hours, 3 hours max, and then used the whole night, spent the whole night designing the deck. I actually designed it in Keynote. So when I shared my assignment, the provost of the academy saw it and was like, "Guy, you're not a strategist, you're a designer." Like, you're switching to design. I refused. I'm like, no, like, strategy. This is what I wanted to do. And so 2 things he did for me. One is he advised me that if I really want to try, I should stay in my area of strength. Like, I know that there is this ideology that find your weaknesses and try to shore it up. Like, cover your weaknesses, improve in your area of weakness, but double down on your area of strength. But I say I coconut dead. But then they shared us into groups. So we had a real brand. The clients came and we worked on their brand, brand strategy to a marketing campaign. And I was assigned as the only ad director in that group. So I had to now take up art direction. So that's how I switched to art direction in the second month of the training. But it was also a very revealing experience because it humbled me. I realized that I thought I knew.
So much more.
Yeah, but then I was really plagued with creative block. Like, I come to design, I'll spend hours trying to come up with ideas. But I think the biggest thing I learned from there is how you can come up with ideas in an instant. Like, there's a process, there's a methodology. Because then my process was vibes.
Just think of something.
When the idea hits,
put it out.
But, they showed how to brainstorm, how to, come up with ideas, how to combine elements of the brand with elements of the message to create something. They say magic and logic, like certain things around how to create an ad that doesn't just have aesthetic value, but also emotional. Like, you see something, you remember it. It will evoke awe, or it will evoke even disgust sometimes. It will the point is remember it, or it'll be like, it's funny, right? And it will make you remember the brand and maybe make a purchasing decision immediately. But then, sometimes it's a long game. Like, you keep saying, selling Indomie. Then when you want to buy noodles, you just default to Indomie, So I learned a lot during the process. And then from there, I graduated as the best art director in my set, and they retained me to teach. So I started, so my first official paid job, because I'd been freelancing all the while, was to teach design, which is funny. But I got great news yesterday that one of my students became a group head in one of the biggest ad agencies in Africa. So yeah. So anyway, so from there I moved on to agencies. I work in advertising for roughly 2 years, right? And then Big Cabal, and then Stears, where I am today. That's a long story.
Yeah, long, interesting, interesting journey, right? Yeah, so I also love to know. You had mentioned like watching Chris Do videos, how it influenced your desire for brand strategy. Let's take it from a young person that had these early formative years in Onitsha, right? Coming to Lagos, did radiography. So, like, what influenced your mindset really that, okay, I want something much bigger? You started thinking of brand strategy, founder, like, what influenced your mindset at that point in time?
So I think it actually started in school too. Like most of what influenced my present career started in school too. Because I know in school school was intense. Because if you know anyone that have studied medicine, just ask them how big the textbooks are.
Yeah.
Very big textbooks, and you have to really know. Like you don't just read it; you have to memorize it. So school was really intense. But I think I also read a lot of business books in school.
Well, in school.
Right. So I read in as much as now I don't like recommending Rich Dad Poor Dad, but I think it's a fundamental book for me because it made me to know that there's like a kind of formula to wealth. The fact that you can choose to be an employee or a self-employed or a business owner or an investor. And then that was what he suggested, and there was Cash Flow Quadrant, and then there were some of his other books on investing. So those books really inspired me to fall in love with business, right? Like, if you want to make significant change in the world, if you're not a government person, if you're not in government or in an NGO, one of the best ways to make significant change in the world is as a business person. Right, like someone invented the camera, someone invented lights, someone invented Facebook, YouTube, all of these things that are part of our lives today. So I wanted to, like, the way I wanted to express my creativity then, I was inspired to do business. So then, like, I was doing, like, with my mom, we had like a fishery in the house, even though we ate all the fish because we wanted to sell it. Like, they were just pricing it very low, so we just roasted the fish and ate it for like a year. Wow. So but I had always loved business, but not particularly trade, more of like corporate organized businesses. So that was why, like, when I graduated, the first thing I wanted to do was be startup founder. And like then, I think that was when I went through did Andela. There was this front end developer. This thing, even though I didn't finish the course, but I learned how to code a bit from it. But where I centered on design was because it was a core strength. Like it was one thing that
Came
I
sort
could
of
do
natural.
effortless. Exactly. During the time I was at O2 Academy, so started paying for courses, started learning on my own because I saw technology popping, and then Figma just launched XD. XD was actually my first product design too. So then I started looking at people like David Hong, who is currently VP of design at Atlassian, but then I think around then, probably around 2022, that I know about him, he was head of design at Webflow. And then, of course, there was Julie Zoe, that was the first VP of design, I think, at Facebook. So some of these people, like, I'll read their blogs. Of course, there's Damo.
Hello, sorry for the break. I know you're enjoying the episode. Please, if you haven't subscribed, please just hit the subscribe button, click the like button, and also leave a comment. Share it to friends and family. It goes a long way to help the channel. You can get right back into the video.
So I started following Damo before he majored on design systems, when he was still running his agency. He would write about the difference between a designer, a creative director, and art director. I think I read the article more than 5 times. Right, and then talk about like creativity and stuff. So these were some of the people that inspired me. But I would say, like, especially during the advertising phase of my career, like Chris Do was a huge inspiration.
All of these exposures, and then people come into your life at a certain time, books you read, they like really made an influence in how you thought, how you dreamt, which I think that is also like very important, that parents, senior colleagues, just giving your maybe dependents or children that good exposure might be in form of books, videos, and go a long way to influence what they think about, what they want to aspire to do, and what they eventually become. And I also agree with the fact of going for what feels natural to you.
Just to add context, like when I was, that was around 2017 when I was like choosing to stay with design. 2017, 2018, my classmates were traveling to UK, you know, because radiography is popping, UK, Australia, and
I think a lot of health courses, once you just do it, you do the right things.
And at that time, I think it's more stringent now, but I think at that time, you know, once you get a job with NHS, they will pay for like everything, accommodation for some months, and you just instantly just move over. My class was about 40, 50. More than half of them are living and working in the UK. So when I made that decision, I looked very stupid because the smart thing to do is use your certificate and jump at the biggest opportunity in front of you. And the funny thing is, like even when I started working in design, when I go home and maybe go out with my parents, my mom will introduce me to her friends. Oh, he's a radiographer. He lives and works in Lagos, right? But it was when I became a design manager that should be like, oh, my son is a designer. That's like, that felt like validation for them. So for a long time, it felt like, oh, maybe he's doing experiments. Maybe he'll figure himself out and come back. So like that deep conviction is required to be able to make such decision at the time where it only makes sense to you. And it's not like the money is visible there and stuff.
Sure. You had mentioned earlier that you started watching videos, learning about design systems, Figma launched, and then so what influenced your complete pivot? I will not say complete because I'm still going to ask how much of your art director experience is influencing your product design now. But what influenced that complete shift to building a career in product design?
So first of all, I still design. I still do brand design, so you know it's more like expansion. Because from when I joined Big Cabal and even at Stears, I've led both brand design and product design teams, and I've always been a technical manager in the sense I still actually do brand work and product design work. But I think it was in 2018. So it was partially influenced by like just opportunity, and then the fact that I've always loved technology. Like I started using computers, like year 2000. So my uncle gave us a computer like with the CRT monitor, that big monitor, keyboard, big. I was really fascinated by like technology. So when I started designing, and even when I got into O2. So over time, I started meeting people that were software engineers. I spent time online. I meet some people. They say they're product designers. I'm like, okay, product designers. What do they do? So I started learning. I'm like, oh, someone actually designs Facebook. Someone actually designs Figma. Someone designs this. So because I was already using like Photoshop, so when XD came out, I downloaded it, and XD came with some small tutorial. So I started going through it, and then when I was like, I fell in love with, I want to also learn this. So I started, I think I registered for Interaction Design Foundation, did a bunch of courses there, human-computer interactions, and some other like UX courses, design thinking. It really taught me the foundationals of the UX, like how you approach the process, how you... Like I think the courses I enjoyed the most there was human-computer interaction, and then designing for physicality or something. And then there was one about like psychology. It's like you're understanding how the eye sees color and how the eye perceives things, gestalt theory, how the mind interprets objects if they are grouped together, if they are similar shapes, similar sizes, similar colors maybe. So those things like really, of course, it was also improving my art direction, but funny thing, at that time, some of my mentors felt it was a distraction. But what really pushed me to keep, because I had a student that I was teaching who was working as a product designer, and I was getting inside, I asked him a lot of questions. So one time I invited him to come and speak to some of my students about product design. And this guy was making 500K then.
At that time.
At that time, and of course, he was working 2 jobs, but like his work was such that he could do both comfortably. And at that time, people that I knew that were earning 500K in art direction were like maybe creative directors or deputy creative directors. So I'm like, whoa, there's this branch of design that is really lucrative and really valuable. Because one thing I understood early is that if I want to work for someone and earn a lot, then I should work in a job where I'm providing so much value. Right? So if I want to say, oh, I want to collect X, then I should be creating at least minimum of that X for the company every month. If not, that minus on their balance sheet. You know, so I'm like, oh, this looks like a more valuable career. Like, because then, like 2016, 2018, 2019, right? So I started, like, I was earning just 100K then, and I'll use like 20K, 40K and pay for interaction design. But the interaction design foundation had that thing where if you refer someone, you get 3 months free. So I was just referring people
to take.
Yeah. But I learned the foundations there. And the good thing was the next job I got, the next agency job, Web Coopers, I got it because I was an art director that can do product design. So they needed an art director that can do product design, and there were not a lot. So that was why I got that role. And I did very fun stuff there, like Instagram filters, Google interactive ads, like HTML5 ads. It was really, some of the technology we're using was just being developed. My CEO then would be like, maybe just don't worry, just calm down, learn this thing. When you learn it, come and use it for our clients. You know, so it was really exciting times. And then of course, regular social media design. But that period really spurred me on, you know, to major on product design. I also learned a lot of product design in Web Coopers because I was like a junior product designer on the product design tasks. So I was learning a lot from my design lead.
Experience.
Yeah, it was giving me loads and loads of feedback. So I kept taking courses. Yeah, and then when I joined Big Cabal, like one of my first assignments is build up the team, build up the product, because there was no product design team. So hired product designers, build up like the processes, the methodologies, how we executed, and we built a lot of really cool products. And then when I joined Stears as well, it was like build up the team again. So first work with contractors, then hired folks. And I think Stears is really interesting because Stears adjusted my mindset. And not really my mindset, because there's this thing where as product designers, sometimes you are indexing on how many products. I want to write case studies, build my portfolio. But since I joined Stears, this is a one product company, it's one platform.
Yeah, no, you're not working with several clients.
So I had to change what I was indexing on, right? Like, let's do this, have something for my portfolio. I've not even updated my portfolio for like 4 years, right? So, but my focus became on, okay, how do we create value for our customers, and how is design a lever to make this person make a buying decision, and how is it serving them on a daily basis that by the time they need to pay again to subscribe, they are excited about it, and it's helping them make so much money that they would even refer their people. So yeah, I do both, but I say that these days I spend more like 80% of my time that I'm designing. I'm doing product design.
You're doing really cool stuff at Stears. Yeah, and then looking online too, we've seen people's feedback on the products you guys have built, following up with the elections and all of that. So your strategy background, your art direction background, how much of influence does it have even on your product design taste or craft now?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll say there are two parts to it. One is the strategic part. Right. I think one of the biggest things I learned from like learning working advertising, learning marketing, behavioral psychology, learning art direction is that design is not just aesthetic. It doesn't have just aesthetic value. And then the understanding that most of, like let's say 80% of the information we take in is through our eyes, and most of the decisions we make about things we buy is based on the way things look. Even food, right, is based on how it looks, right? So because of that, I was able to have an understanding that design has so much impact on whether people buy and whether people keep buying a product, and even how people see a product. One of the things that has also helped is excellence, because I remember when I was working in my first agency, my CEO called me to his office and told me that I design like an old man, that I need to open my mind, So like I've been lucky to work with people who were a lot better than me that I could learn from, and they keep raising the bar. So that sense of excellence had always followed us. So like when I joined Stears, what was driving the products was we had certain goals to accomplish. So it's like, okay, what is the best way that we can, not what's the minimal efforts way, but what's the best way that we can accomplish it with the resources we have, right? And that has been what has driven us. But my first responsibility was to create a data visualization system. That was like the first major task I had. So, and I had never done that before. I'd done brand design and stuff. So I had to actually go and study existing data visualization guidelines. Like there's New York Times has, New York Economist has, a bunch of organizations have. So I studied them in detail. And when it comes to data visualization, one, you need to understand, okay, what are the various kinds of charts and tables, right? Or mostly charts, and what kinds of data do you represent with what kinds of charts? So you had to think about that, and then how you use color is important, because when it comes to data visualization, color means things. So for example, if I was plotting financial data, red often means like it's tending negatively, and then green often means positive. But then I think one of the biggest learnings I learned during the elections in relation to our design was also about accessibility, because we had a teammate, not a designer, but someone in the Stears team at the time who was colorblind. And then we had someone reach out to us, like I think on social media, DM or something, to let us know that, they are colorblind. And because of that, some of our charts, they couldn't tell the variables apart. So that was like a punch that like we had to start paying attention to it. Like, people that are colorblind are maybe less than 5% of the population, but significant, right? And one thing I've learned is when you design for accessibility, you make the experience better for everybody. So like we had to even go back to and at that point of elections, we couldn't change the colors, because one of the most common color blindness is, I think, they can't tell red and green apart. And then we had used red for Labour Party and used green for, I think, PDP, right? So we couldn't change it at the time. And there were like 20-something political parties. So we had to create unique colors for each. Like, not create, like assign a unique color for each. So everywhere, every chart that talked about the party or the candidates from the party used that color. So that was one way we were able to have a cohesive system for it, and even for the charts. And we had to create a lot of templates that the team used. And we had a powerful chatting tool that we used as well. But then so we now had to change, like in a regular data visualization, like, okay, so what alternative colors do we use instead of red and green? So we settled on a shade of blue and red. So instead of using green, we use red and blue for our primary like sentiment, and like visualizing sentiment, positive, negative. So yeah, those are some of the things that like my experience in product design and strategy has had some of the ways it has influenced me today. And even as Stears, our platform has evolved, right? So like it used to be economic analysis tool, and we used to be like $100 a year subscription to individuals. But now we're like a financial data platform and made that pivot, I think 2 years ago. And it's more like organization sign up for Stears. It's like similarly to how your organization will sign up for Slack and add everyone similar to that. And they have access to loads of data, macroeconomic data, data on companies, data on transactions, both historical and current, data on LPs. LPs are investors that invest in with other investors. So if someone has a VC fund or private equity fund, there are people that invest in their fund. So typically huge development organizations, HNIs like Jeff Bezos like folks, and even like sovereign wealth funds of government. So we have LP profiles, and even more that we're building. So it's a different animal. So I think one analogy I use when we're making the pivots is like shifting from designing a Corolla to designing an F1 car. They are both cars, but they operate under different rules. They operate under different expectations. So yeah, and you have a product that is now like our license is now from $10,000 upwards per year for organizations. So is like, so the impact of the way this button looks or the way this landing page looks is different, because when your product becomes more expensive or more, the value of the product increases, the way the platform looks decides how they perceive the value. So imagine I'm looking at the landing page and I'm seeing typos or I'm seeing things that are not aligned. So we had to double down on our design system. Like we had to engage in a lot of activities that improved our tastes to match the expectations of the customers we're trying to reach. And these were people that were using tools like Bloomberg Terminal.
So they know what quality looks like.
Yeah,
already, so.
Even though, to be fair, some financial data platforms don't have great UI, but they have awesome UX. Like Bloomberg Terminal is very confusing to most people, but people who use it, it becomes intuitive to them over time. But we also wanted to look good, but we had to now sacrifice, like make some choices, right? Because like our interface become more dense. So like smaller font sizes, things were closer together because the kind of people we're building for want to consume a lot of information at once. Exactly. Yeah, so our rules changed, but at the same time, like it had to be refined. Right, so it was like a lot of growing for the team, and then we started using other tools like Webflow, and other tools like even our design system. Like I think we worked on a design system for more than a year. Wow. Like, and it wasn't just I have a style guide on Figma, but working with the engineers to make sure that like we have a code twin to this style guide, right? And having a shared language, because I think one of the things that we came to understand quite early in meetings with engineers is I'm saying component, I mean Figma component. If engineer is saying component, I mean React component. They are not always the same thing. And if we don't have a shared language, I might say one thing, he assumes another, and then and something. Yeah, and we're able to build a synergistic relationship with the engineers and PMs and every other person, and it's been an incredible.
It's just until recently when you now have AI, that AI can do a lot of like development work, help you move from 0 to maybe 1 very quickly. People are starting to say, oh, design is a differentiator. But now let's take it back to like 2 years ago when you're trying to influence decisions, trying to make sure that, oh, design is important here for us to raise the quality, for us to be able to increase the value of our product. How have you been able to lead the conversation such that design is valuable in those set of meetings?
Yeah, I would say that I'm incredibly lucky because Stears is a data company, but Stears is a design-centric company. And for context, the first version of the elections platform that is so popular, my CEO built it himself, like designed it himself on Sketch. So it's like OG, right? So of course he's not a designer, but he has a lot of design taste and a lot of because the founders, we have four co-founders at Stears. Two of them are lawyers. One is an economist, and the other is an engineer. So they have incredible design taste, especially in law. Like there's a lot of focus on formatting of documents, how documents look. So typography, like my CEO gives me typography feedback, and I'm like this, right? Like so, for example, we had to introduce a particular, like there's a CSS class, like something we had to apply across the platform because we noticed that we'll do designs on Figma and they'll be crisp, sharp, but on the web, the fonts look a bit fatter, like just a bit. So it's like aliasing and anti-aliasing. So we had to like solve that problem, and it's because my CEO would like put it side by side. I said, "There's something wrong.
Something is not.
Do you understand?" So I would say that I've not had to fight a lot to push the design agenda because like the company already understands deeply the value of design. It's been really interesting because, and it's been easy because like there is this concept like says everybody in the team, if you ask them what's the one thing you say about say like incredibly smart people around and with very high bar for excellence. So when you give feedback, there's that thing where I don't like. I've heard a funny story where a designer in one group said that the client gave him feedback and he blocked the client. Like that's crazy. Like it's a very feedback rich environment, and even if you give me 20 feedback on my design, I don't see it as malicious.
Yeah, but then how did you learn to take it right? You know, like you spend time trying to create, you've done research, trying to create something really nice, and then once you send it maybe to the client or to your bosses or to the engineers, people are just giving feedback. So the default state is to be defensive. So how did you learn to
So I actually
pull down
learned
that defensiveness down as much as possible?
I actually learned that in advertising because in tech,
Yeah.
feedback is usually polite. In advertising, the feedback can be very brutal. What helps is like think about what am I indexing for? Like what's my goal? Is my goal to be done? Or is my goal to satisfy the brief? Like do I want to meet the brief? Do I want to satisfy the goals and criteria of the brief?
You've led teams across insight, product, data visualization, and more. Walk us through a project where your design really, or your design leadership directly impacted the company's growth.
I'll say where I am now, Stears. And like I say, it's the one product company. So I wouldn't say it's one feature. I would say maybe everything we've done since the pivot, right? Because even before we pivoted, right, we had to create wireframes that we use to present at conferences, at events. And we had to create a lot of wireframes that we had conversation with industry people like investment analysts, economists, getting direct feedback, some founders of some funds saying, okay, if you were to use this tool, how will it work for you? And I think it's everything we've done because I remember, I think the first data product we launched was our energy tracker. So we have on the platform, you can see current and historical, like fuel, diesel, and I think gas prices across 30 states of Nigeria.
Oh, wow.
And building it was really intense. And that was the product we needed to be used to define, this is our approach to how the data platform would look. And we did it in light mode, we did it on Webflow, right? And that was the first product where we implemented the sidebar then. And then when we launched the currency, we call it FX Monitor, we basically tracks FX prices across about 20-something countries across Africa. like real daily FX rates, and then what will be the inflation forecast, because then it was just focused on macro data that supports decision makers, and then we zeroed in on private equity and fund managers. When we felt the impact of it was when we closed our first license, right? So like I said, it's like Corolla.
Fair fun.
Formula One car is over 25 million. Corolla is maybe at most like in dollars, like the brand is 25, maybe $444,000 ish, thereabout. So these are two
Miles
different
apart.
scales, right? So especially like we're getting a lot of feedback from sometimes we watch the videos of the demo calls or the calls with customers, and then we had people we call design partners. Like we had clients that were always on calls with, looking at the product, showing them new features, walking them through prototypes. So that process, I'm incredibly proud of it. And of course, not just me, myself, and the designer in the team, who very incredible designer. I think the last thing I would say that I'm most proud of was when we redesigned our search experience. So previously, what we had was you click on search and you have like an index page where it's a list of the data and articles and reports we have chronologically paginated, and then we have a filter that you can use to filter, and then you can type a keyword. Keyword will help narrow it down, but it wasn't helping discovery as much, right? So we redesigned our search experience. I think I'm very proud of the fact we even added a keyboard shortcut to trigger search. And now like it pops out like a modal, and it's a smart search that is more semantic. Like it's a search as you type. So as you're typing, you're seeing
different
things, and before you type, there are suggestions of what you could do. And we've gotten feedback that like if a lot of people is really being intuitive, and you still have what we call advanced search, but it's more like that filter mode. And we have like our screener. Like within our screener was also very incredible that you can screen companies based on specific criteria. Or transactions, or I want to find transactions that's happened in Nigeria within the last 4 years, within maybe $2 million to $10 million, like transaction value. Or I want to see transactions that this particular investor invested in over the last 5 years. So you can use the screener to actually put in all those parameters, and to run the screener, you just see a list of data sets that fits into that criteria. So it's all been very interesting.
Thanks for giving us a lot of insight into the beautiful and then serious and hard work that you guys are doing at Stears. You had to learn a lot along the journey. You had mentioned took some product design course, design systems, research. What would be your recommended pathway now for a junior brand designer or product designer that also wants to come to the point where they are doing really impactful work that is even measurable? What courses, what pathway would you recommend?
This is a bit hard because most of the courses I like to recommend are online courses, but I've also met people who don't like online courses because maybe they're not able to be consistent with it or pay attention. So based on that, I'll say the first thing is they need a lot of focus and self-discipline. Because I think the two biggest traits, or the two most important traits to grow and thrive as a designer is focus and persistence. You need to figure out what you want, and I recommend use AI to kind of create a curriculum. Like describe, okay, I want to be a world-class brand designer. What are the required skills that I need to learn it from first principles? I was talking with someone a couple of weeks ago who I was mentoring, and I told her that, see, you need to stand out because you are like, let's say I'm trying to hire for a role, put out a job, the JD, and you have 400 applications, 500, 600 for one role. And out of that 500, there are a few bad ones. I've had someone send me their TikTok channel as a portfolio. So there are some horrible ones, right? I've also someone send me Word document as a portfolio. You have some people that maybe are still very junior or they're giving like this one is not serious. But out of maybe 500, 400 are very good or 400 are good. They need to filter to the very good and then who are the exceptional, right? So that means that you are one out of
Quite a number of people.
for every role you apply for. So you need to think about, okay, what makes me to stand out? What are the key requirements that make me exceptional? So there are two sides to it. On one end, it can be have varied skills. I don't always believe I'm the best. I don't ever believe I'm the best in every interview I apply for, but I've always had a unique mix of skills that made me specially qualified for the role. Have a long-term outlook, right? Some people want to work in Paystack that this year. Even if they're hiring an intern, they want an intern that's
Already knows their onions.
do you understand? So I would say if you're learning, give yourself 1 year or 2 years to get good, because you'll be terrible at first. Like sometimes if I want to laugh, I gotta look at my first design, right? It's like you'll be terrible at first, but that's how you grow. Like you make mistakes, you learn from the mistakes, you tweak. And something that would really help is find very good inspiration and imitate it, right? So there's a reason why the way artists learn art is by replicating existing artwork, right? So you need to find good designs and replicate it in the tool, right? Learn, okay, if it's image manipulation, how do I do image manipulation? If it's poster, how do I replicate this poster exactly? Now, let me hold 2 ears. Let me look at the camera.
Yeah.
Don't go and post somebody's work as your own. So any personal work you do, your copying and imitation, it should exist in your files alone. It's for you to learn. It's not for you to copy someone's work
and push it out.
The best opportunity anyone has is if you can learn either brand design and product design today, or learn product design and front-end engineering. Take courses. So what courses would I recommend? For brand design, I would say once you build that curriculum, right? If you want to work in advertising, go to Auto Academy or Orange Academy in Nigeria, right? Because two things. One, you will learn the skills that are particular to the industry. And two is those schools have alumni networks that can help you get jobs in agencies. And then for online courses, product design, I would still recommend Interaction Design Foundation. And caveat is it can be boring because it's very academic, right? But you will learn the foundations. Another course I would recommend is Udacity Nano Degree for UX. And there is Google's US certification. I recommend the US certification because both are similar, but the Google Coursera, the one on Coursera is more deep. Right, go through it, go through the entire module, do the assignments, build, like design there. Like, yeah, there are a lot of books, read books, but what speaks for you is what you know, and it's like you are designing every day. Our taste is built by what we are exposed to, right? So if you've not seen it, you can't come up with something you've not seen, because our creativity is tied to our imagination. So the way to feed your imagination is feed it with great design, right? So every day I go on Pinterest, I go on Ads of the World, right? When I was in advertising, Ads of the World was like my home, right? To be looking at ads that have won awards, ads that were, because sometimes it's not really the most, like, sometimes one of the most interesting ads might not win the award, but you look at the ads that were nominated, you watch the TV series, the video commercial, sometimes listen to the radio as well, because it's more about what's the creative, what was the concept they used, because you want to learn how to come up with good concepts. If it's product design, learn UX, learn how to go from research to idea to wireframe to testing it to building it out, right, to refinement, right. UI, learn for product designers. I'll say the best way to learn UI is to understand the components. There are pattern libraries. Go to, I think there is a website called uipatterns.net or something, where you can just search menu and you see different kinds of menu. I think they even explain the different use cases. Look at different menus, how menus are designed, both And even if you think about responsiveness, so if I design this menu and it's like this on the web, how will it look like on a tablet? How will it look like on a phone? And how will it look like on a narrow phone, wide phone? Now there are flip phones and fold phones. So how will it look like if I'm on the smaller screen or on the wider screen? Like different breakpoints, really. How do I do bottom navigation? What are the principles? Learn spacing, right? In brand, you learn composition, you learn spacing, how to do visual hierarchy. In UI design, spacing is fundamental.
Shared quite a lot, which I know that listeners like really find valuable. Let's quickly talk about mentorship. You were recognized severally as 1% mentor on ADP list. For quite a number of people that you've had to mentor, those are common trends that you've seen. How has your experience mentoring others also influenced how you relate to people, or how you also help impact other people around you?
Yeah. To be fair, I can't remember why I started mentoring. So if you ask me why did I start, I can't remember. I know why I'm still mentoring. It's because I wish I had someone like me that knows the thing I know now, that can just tell me like, oh, do this, don't do this when I was coming up. It's a very fulfilling part of my career, because I see it as part of my career. Is volunteering, is free mentorship. Like I could have started coaching and for a price. I have experience teaching design. I still plan to launch a course, but I could have started it as a course and collect money for it. But it's free, right? And I do it mostly every week. This week I've had 2 sessions. And I think the fulfilling part of it is like shining light on someone's way.
What's one core belief or principle that anchors you in the tough times, whether you're leading a team or leading family?
Let me redefine the question. Like, if it's like one core principle that is like at the center of all I do, it's actually 2, right? And the reason I'm saying 2 is because I feel like one without the other is like hopping on one leg. So it's 2 things: excellence and integrity. Right? Because if you have excellence and you don't have integrity, you can be an excellent cook, right? So excellent thief, right? And if you have integrity, but you're not excellent, which sometimes the way I think about integrity, I think you can't have full integrity without being excellent. Because excellence is about doing things to the best of your ability, consistently, no matter what it takes, right? Or at least within reason with the resources you have. Right. These 2 things, because even early in my career, I've had opportunity. Of course, you are learning design, you are copying things. When people see that, oh, you are good at replicating, someone will come, can you, I've had someone reach out that can help them replicate one jam something. No, I don't do it. Right. I've had someone reach out for me to help them replicate a letterhead of an institution that they want to pretend that they wrote, and a letter recommending them and stuff. And I don't do that, because the thing with designers is there's ethics. There are ethics of design. It doesn't get talked about a lot. It's like when we start talking about don't steal people's design, there are ethics. We're talking about NDAs. Like, you have NDAs. I think you should or should not be able to talk about. Sometimes in design, you get access to personal information. You get access to some kinds of information that you should protect, right? And I think these are the 2 things that have been the bedrock of my career. Relationship, like with my wife, we don't put on airs. Like, I'm not trying to impress my wife in my life, right? So we don't try to impress each other. We're real, we're honest with each other. We have difficult conversations, right? Like, even at work, I've also learned, like, because I've had to let people go, and to learn how to deal with that in a very mature, transparent way. Like, you're not dealing with a baby, you're dealing with someone, maybe it has to do with their career, right? So you have to have conversations, like difficult conversations, lay out the facts, not the emotions, and explain, oh, if someone is being let go for performance reasons, explain, this is it, and don't surprise people. Right, like the first time you hear about performance issues should not be when we're letting you go. Like, there must have been a trend, and we must have tried to help you walk through it. And even Like if it's for other reasons, be transparent about it. And in relationships, when dealing with issues, lay out the facts. And one of the things that has helped the most is talking about, sometimes we talk about things from third person point of view, right? Like, oh, instead of saying, this thing you did is bad, I can say, this is how I felt, or this is what I understood. Is this what you meant? Like, because understanding that sometimes in communication, there's this law from, I think, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People that I really like, that says that to be understood, make sure understand someone else to be understood. Like if I want you to understand me, I should make sure I understand you too. So if I'm making the effort to understand you, I'll use that as context, communicating in a way you will understand. So sometimes you have to just make sure that like what you're communicating is that what, and it even applies in work, right? Because in advertising there's something we call understanding the brief. The client gives you a brief. I see you want this. You still, right?
So,
this is what I understand. Are we on the same page?
Yeah.
Because many times there are conflicts. Is usually, and especially when there is conflict and both of you have strong positions, is usually a perspective issue. Understanding the person you're trying to communicate to also lets you know, okay, this is the best way. Like at work, it's not everybody you band to it. There are people that you just be formal because that's how they are, and then there are people you can be more casual with. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely gold. You shared so much that are really, really valuable. So like in wrapping up this episode, there could be younger designer or budding designers, whether brand, whether product or art directors, feel they are not getting as much as they should get, they feel they are not growing as much as they should grow. What would be 1-2 practical steps that they can use to move forward that you'd recommend?
Yeah, so when people are stuck, it is like they are plateaued. So one is a normal state, right? There is this something they call the Dunning-Kruger effect, and it has a curve. So if you start learning any, I love the illustrations they use to describe, because when you start learning any skill, so it's like effort and time, right? You get to the time when you're applying small effort and you're getting a lot of results. Right, and like that's when you are learning a lot. And then there's something they call peak of Mount Stupid, right? That peak of Mount Stupid is how, like, when you know enough to be confident, but you don't know enough to know what you don't know. So you are defending a position based on the little knowledge you have, right? And then it plateaus, it goes downwards. Seth Godin calls it the dip, right? Where you are putting so much effort and you're not getting so much results, right? But that is a valid step in the process. But you need to push. Oh, you notice that, I want my design to look like, let me call out my friend, Lair Connect, for example. You want my design to go to his Twitter, go to the media tab, download all of it, start replicating it one by one. There are people like, there's this app I love, Faye. Right, it's a finance app that they just like personal finance, like you can track your own stocks, right? Their designs are like clickable. It's so beautiful. If you go, the two founders are on Twitter, I've forgotten their name, but if you search Fey, Fey, right? Go to their media, the designer, go to the media. One of the things I learned from following that guy, he did an interview with on Dive Club podcast. And he talked about how some of his mom was an artist, right? And then one of his design inspirations is Caravaggio, the artist. And I went and looked at Caravaggio art, like this guy's art, so much contrast, the way he uses light and darkness. There's this artwork that is like, it's like a night painting. Half of the painting is shades of grey, but the details, right? If you study these things, and they're going to inspire you, right? So feed your mind with a lot of these things and practice, keep practicing to the point where I need to do the work. You apply for an interview, they give you a test, you can design it in 2 minutes, right? Like it becomes instinctive. when they say design a landing page, in your mind you already have like 10 different patterns you can use for a landing page, right? You're designing an app, you already know exactly how the onboarding will go. You even have alternatives, you know, okay, for this onboarding I can use an illustration, or I can use images, or I can just use copy and make it like creative, like conversational, right? Oh, you come up with ideas, come up with, okay, let me design a meditation app, let me design a to-do app, let me design a calendar app, right? Or you're a brand designer, let me design an advert, right? Let me design a social media campaign series, right? There are even creative things people do on Instagram. People have done like a kind of treasure hunt on IG, like designs that are treasure hunts. You click on this, they create different channels that connect to each other. You can think of something like that as a brand designer. If you come up with a concept like that and design and present in an interview, everybody will be impressed. They'll be like, see, this thing, that's what you will do for us when you join. So push yourself. Like, that's the time when you have to immerse yourself in greatness. Like, what does greatness look like in my domain? And then practice it and keep at it till like it's kind of overflowing. Like, you cannot it's natural to you. Someone will tell you they are stuck, and you tell them, okay, let's do an audit of your day, and you see they spend half of the day on Netflix or playing game on social media or watching reels. Any job, you can get to the peak of it, right? But it's really about how seriously do you take it, right? Do all your friends know what you do? And then how good are you at it? Can your friends boast that, oh, this guy is very good, right? Like, because a lot of things in creative industry, a lot of gigs, jobs are gotten by referral. But if I'm referring someone and my reputation is on the line, and I wouldn't want to refer someone that I know is not excellent, that I know would not meet up to the standard if I was there, that's how I would have done it.
Maybe I shared quite a lot, quite a lot. Mentioned the importance of excellence, integrity, communication, developing the grades, learning what it requires to be great. Is there like anything you want to leave us with? Maybe something you had in mind to share that maybe I did not ask about, or just your final words for this episode?
Okay, I end with this quote from Naval Ravikant, the founder of Angel List. He said, if you're so smart, why don't you have what you want out of life? Right? And then he has another one where he said, if you're so smart, why are you not happy? Right? I feel like happiness is fundamental to creativity because it's easier to be creative from a happy, healthy place than from a depressed place. And one of the ways to be happy is to get what you want out of life. So you need to define why. Why am I doing this? Find out what makes you happy. Find things that make you happy that is not really heavily dependent on money. Like, you don't have to go to Dubai to be happy. You don't have to use the latest iPhone to be happy. You don't have to drive the latest car to be happy. But find out what makes you happy and do those things. You know, things that spark joy. Have hobbies that outside of design you used to decompress. Healthy hobbies.
Thank you so much, baby. It's been a very, very insightful, valuable, exciting conversation. Thank you. And I know that listeners, viewers would also find it valuable. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, for listening. We'll continue to bring top and amazing people doing cool stuff. Go out there and then continue to do amazing exploits. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.